200 souls waited, trembling in a silence so heavy it felt like the world itself had stopped breathing. No one moved, no one spoke. No one spoke, everyone just stared at the horizon, where the sky was painted in shades of orange and gray. Fear clung to the air like smoke, and every heartbeat echoed louder than the last. They didn't know what would come next, only that death seemed closer than ever. But in the midst of that despair, a sound cut through the tension, a roar that made the ground tremble beneath their feet. It was an F-18 fighter jet, slicing through the sky with the precision of a predator and the roar of a storm. Among the crowd, a few brave souls glanced upward, shielding their eyes, trying to make sense of the impossible. Who was out there? Why had they come? The jet circled once, twice, each pass sending shivers down spines already frayed with fear. Then, in a voice both mechanical and strangely intimate, the plane spoke. A single name was called out. The hidden woman's name. Immediately, the air shifted. Heads turned. Hearts skipped. Some people gasped, some whispered, some froze completely. This was no ordinary rescue. This was something else. Something that blurred the line between hope and horror. For decades, her existence had been a rumor, a shadow, a story parents whispered to warn children. Yet now, in that moment, the hidden woman was no longer a secret. She was real. And somehow, she held the fate of all 200 souls in her hands. The tension was unbearable. Who was she? Why had she been hidden for so long? And more importantly, why did the F-18, a machine of war, know her name while the people who needed her most had only ever heard whispers? Fear mixed with curiosity, and every person waiting felt the weight of uncertainty pressing down like a physical force. No one could predict what would happen next. One wrong move, one misunderstanding, and everything could fall apart in an instant, as the sun dipped lower behind the clouds, casting long, twisting shadows over the group. The hidden woman's name lingered in the air. It was a promise, a warning, and a question all at once. And in that moment, every soul realized that the story was far from over. Whatever came next would change their lives forever, but for now, all they could do was wait and wonder, and hope that the voice in the sky had not come too late. No one knew how long they had been waiting. Days blurred into nights, and the stories of the hidden woman had grown with each retelling. Some said she had vanished years ago to escape a danger no one fully understood. Others whispered she had been protecting something powerful enough to put every life around her at risk. But no one had seen her, not really, until now. And the F-18 calling her name changed everything. Among the 200 souls, a few faces stood out. There was Marcus, a quiet man who had survived more than anyone should, his eyes always scanning the horizon for threats that never came. Next to him was Lila, trembling yet determined, clutching a small notebook full of sketches and notes about the hidden woman, her obsession. Her hope, her fear, all written on those pages. And then there was old Samuel, whose memory was sharp but whose body was frail. The kind of man who had seen secrets unravel and understood that the smallest clue could save or doom everyone. The wind picked up, and with it came whispers, some carried by the air, some from their own imaginations. Rumors that the woman's disappearance had something to do with a hidden facility, deep underground, where shadows moved and the rules of life and death were twisted. The F-18 had circled over that area earlier, its pilotor, perhaps the machine itself, searching for a signal only it could detect. And somehow, that signal had led to her name being spoken aloud, a sound that felt like both a warning and a lifeline. Every soul felt it. Something was coming. Something that would demand choices, courage, and sacrifices none of them could yet imagine. Eyes darted to the sky, ears straining for the jet's return. And beneath it all, a quiet, growing question haunted them. If the F-18 knew her name, who or what was guiding it? No one spoke. No one moved. And yet, in the silence, the tension grew. The hidden woman was out there, somewhere, and whatever she carried with her, truth, power, or dung, the hidden woman had lived her life in the shadows, moving silently from one place to another, always careful never to be seen. Her name had become a ghost, a story whispered in hushed tones by those who had glimpsed the edges of her existence. She carried secrets powerful enough that an F-18, a machine meant for war, seemed to recognize her before anyone else. She had learned early that the world was not safe for someone like her, someone who knew too much, someone who could tip the balance between life and death with a single decision. Back among the 200 souls, fear and curiosity mingled in equal measure. Each person wondered what she looked like, what she wanted, and whether she was a friend or a threat. Marcus clenched his fists, silently cursing himself for not knowing more about the woman whose name now hung in the air. Lila's notebook shook in her hands as she reread the passages she had copied from old records, each one hinting at a power too strange to fully comprehend. Samuel muttered fragments of memory, tales of past disappearances, of people vanishing without a trace, all tied, somehow, to the same name. The F-18 had vanished as suddenly as it had appeared, leaving only a trail of uncertainty behind. And the sky, once alive with its roar, now seemed heavier, as if the very air waited for what was coming next. The hidden woman's presence had become more than a story. It was a test, a warning that danger was near, and that decisions made in the next moments could determine who survived. As the sun slipped lower and shadows stretched across the waiting crowd, a cold realization set in. This was no ordinary rescue, no random encounter. Something larger, something unseen, was guiding events, and everyone was caught in its path. The question was no longer if the hidden woman would appear, but when and whether anyone would live to see it was about to reach them. Night was falling, and the 200 souls felt it pressing in on them, thick and suffocating. Every shadow seemed alive, every movement in the distance setting nerves on edge. Marcus could feel his heart hammering as he scanned the horizon, every instinct screaming that something was coming, something far bigger than they could see. Lila's notebook slipped from her hands as she caught a glimpse of a figure moving in the dark, just beyond the flickering light of a dying fire. Samuel's frail frame shook, though his eyes were sharper than ever. He knew that history had a way of repeating itself, and the signs were unmistakable. Then a sound split the silence, soft at first, almost unnoticeable. A whisper carried on the wind, a voice neither mechanical nor entirely human. The hidden woman was near. The crowd froze. Some tried to speak, but no words would come. They could feel her presence before they could see her, like a ripple in reality bending the air around her. And somewhere above them, the faint echo of the F-18's roar returned, as if warning, as if guiding, as if counting down to a moment none of them could escape. The tension grew unbearable. Every second stretched into eternity. The hidden woman's steps were deliberate, each one pulling the group closer to a truth they weren't ready for. Lila picked up her notebook, desperate for answers, but the pages offered only fragments, clues, scattered like breadcrumbs in a storm. Marcus gritted his teeth, knowing that fear alone would not save them. Samuel whispered old names, old warnings, hoping someone, anyone, would recognize the pattern before it was too late. Then, just as the shadows converged and the wind carried an almost tangible sense of danger, a sudden flash of light illuminated the clearing. Eyes widened, breaths caught, and in that split second, every soul knew that the hidden woman was no longer just a story, no longer just a whisper in the dark. Whatever came next would demand choices, courage, and sacrifices they had never imagined. The world seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the first move, the first word, the first spark of action, and for the 200 souls. Every heartbeat was a countdown to a moment that could change everything. Just as the 200 souls began to gather their courage, the ground beneath them shivered not from the wind, not from the F-18, but from something unseen, deep and powerful. Marcus dropped to one knee, gripping the dirt as a low hum spread through the clearing. It wasn't a sound, exactly. It was a vibration that seemed to reach inside their bones. The hidden woman had appeared, her figure barely visible in the dim light. But now it was clear she was not alone. Shadows moved around her, indistinct forms that flickered at the edge of vision, as if the darkness itself had taken shape. Lila's voice caught in her throat. "She's controlling them," she whispered, more to herself than anyone else. But Samuel shook his head, muttering, "No, it's not control. It's a warning. They're here to protect her, or to keep something buried." The crowd's fear spiked. What had seemed like salvation was now a threat they didn't understand. And then the second twist hit like a thunderclap. A sudden transmission crackled through the air, mechanical but unmistakably human. Another name, not hers. Someone else was coming, someone tied to the hidden woman, someone whose presence could destroy everything. The F-18's engine roared again, but this time it was different, urgent, almost frantic. As if the machine itself was signaling that time was running out. The people froze, realizing that their focus on the hidden woman might have blinded them to a danger approaching even faster, even closer than they could see. Marcus felt his stomach tighten. Every instinct screamed that the next moments would decide who lived, who died, and who would be left in the shadows forever. Lila clutched her notebook tighter, trying to piece together fragments of old maps, old records, old warnings, all of which suddenly seemed connected to a danger far larger than anyone had imagined. Samuel whispered one final fragment, barely audible over the rising wind. "It's not just her name. It's theirs, too. Whoever comes next could change everything." The clearing was silent, but tension crackled like electricity. Every soul understood the truth. The hidden woman was only part of the story. And the real danger, the real reckoning, was just about to begin. The ground shook again, louder this time, as the hidden woman stepped forward. Her eyes glowed faintly in the dim light, reflecting the fear and hope of the 200 souls who watched her every move. The shadows around her shifted, coalescing into forms that were both human and impossible. Guardians of a secret no one could have imagined. Marcus stepped closer, driven by a mixture of courage and desperation, feeling that this moment could define everything. Then, a figure emerged from the darkness, tall, imposing, and unmistakably real. It was the one the F-18 had signaled, the name that had crackled through the air earlier. A tense silence fell, broken only by the wind whipping through the clearing. The hidden woman's gaze met theirs, and in that moment, it was clear. She had not been hiding from danger. She had been protecting them all. Everything she had done, every move she had made, had been to keep the group alive, and yet survival demanded a choice. The figure spoke, voice low and commanding, revealing a truth that sent shockwaves through the crowd. They weren't enemies. They were the key to unlocking the hidden woman's secret, a secret that could either save or destroy every life's present. Lila flipped through her notebook, realizing that every clue she had collected pointed to this moment, to this convergence of past and present. Marcus felt a surge of relief, but it was short-lived. Before anyone could act, the ground beneath them cracked open, and the shadows erupted outward in a wave of energy. The hidden woman raised her hands, controlling the force with precision honed over years in hiding. The crowd was lifted, swaying between fear and awe, as the F-18 returned, hovering above like a guardian, its engine a roar that now felt protective rather than threatening. And then the twist, as the dust settled. The hidden woman turned toward the group and revealed a startling truth someone among. The 200 souls carried the final key to her secret, someone they had trusted without question. Every eye widened, every breath caught, because the real test had only just begun. The F-18 had not just spoken a name, had been waiting for the right moment to reveal it. The night fell silent once more, but the tension lingered, thick and unbroken. The hidden woman had survived. The immediate danger had passed. But trust had been shattered, alliances were uncertain. And the real story, the story that would define them all, was only beginning, as the first light of dawn broke over the horizon. The clearing felt quieter, almost peaceful, though the tension from the night lingered like a shadow. The hidden woman lowered her hands, and the strange energy that had surrounded her dissipated, leaving the 200 souls blinking against the soft glow of morning. Marcus exhaled deeply, finally allowing himself to feel relief. The immediate danger had passed, but the memory of what had nearly unfolded would stay with them forever. Lila approached the hidden woman, her notebook clutched tightly, full of observations that had once seemed meaningless. Now they made sense. Every sketch, every note, every whispered rumor had been part of a puzzle leading to this moment. The hidden woman nodded at her, a quiet acknowledgement of trust and understanding. Samuel shuffled closer, his voice hoarse but steady. "We understand now." It wasn't just about survival. It was about knowing who to trust and when to act. The figure who had appeared alongside the hidden woman stepped forward, revealing the truth behind the F-18's intervention. It had not been a warning of destruction, but a call to protect and guide those who were ready to face the unknown. The 200 souls realized that they had been tested, not only for courage, but for discernment. And the lesson was clear. Knowledge and trust carried power just as dangerous as any weapon. As the group began to disperse, the hidden woman disappeared once more into the shadows, leaving behind only the memory of her presence and the wisdom she had imparted. The F-18 vanished, its mission complete. Leaving the sky calm and empty once more, Marcus, Lila, Samuel, and the others knew that life would never be the same. They had faced fear, uncertainty, and the unknown, and they had survived. And though the hidden woman's story remained partially a mystery, her actions had left an indelible mark. That courage, trust, and hope could shine even in the darkest moments, and that sometimes the most hidden truths were the ones that mattered most. Don't let the suspense end here. Subscribe, like, and share this video with your friends, and be part of our growing family of thrill seekers.